ASMR Coffin Radio.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Coffin Radio. I am Heartthrob Rob, and today we are reviewing A&E's biography, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So we have the series premiere here for A&E Biography, man, and who better to show off these WWE legends than Stone Cold Steve Austin himself. And I don't know if they're all going to be 2 hours like this one, but this one, their season premiere, 2 hours, and Austin, deserves every fucking minute of it. They go over his whole, right off the bat, let me tell you, it's a great special. They have interviews from everybody that are really doing it, and they really put together that Stone Cold story, over the 2 hours. If you're not a huge wrestling fan, it's easy to digest and easy to understand. There's not too much wrestling jargon, as it were, but you do get to see the inner workings of, how someone comes from, where Steve's come from, There's two definitive factors of you're not supposed to make it, or you're not supposed to be here, maybe even three, and it just happens, Obviously, those two, I'll say them now. Obviously, the two are going to be, excuse me, the two moments are going to be when the curtain call happens and Stone Cold is actually, given the push that Triple H was originally supposed to get. And the secondary one being, a broken neck, game the fuck over, and, it ended up being a bruised spine, thankfully. And Austin jumps back from that, to become the hottest heel. Anyways, so we start, from humble beginnings as he's born in Texas, and it just covers his whole, it's not too much of this early life. I mean, within 15 minutes already, 20 minutes, he's already USWA, 15 minutes already. He's already in USWA wrestling, and he said he's always wanted to do it. He's college-educated man, too, which I also thought was very cool to see Stone Cold. You forget these dudes that played for college teams had to have gone through school, so that's very cool. But we see Stone Cold just working the USWA, working the Jeff Jarrett matches here. Great physique, big dude. We see him transition to WCW where, he's the Hollywood Blondes, him and Brian Pillman, and him as stunning Steve Austin. But, he says there's that glass ceiling there that he's not able to push through and break through, which, of course, is, all that upper talent when they have Flair, Sting, Luger, whoever else is at the top of the card at the time, the Four Horsemen, and things even get worse. They don't really cover it here, but, when Hulk Hogan jumps in for him, and he has a job out to him, Macho Man, all the other early people that are coming into the territory at the time. But then we see, as Stone Cold is, said that he won't draw a dime and that he's, not the greatest gimmick and not the greatest wrestler, he takes that anger and turns it into, furnishes it inside ECW. Paul Heyman lets him cut promos, and people are saying it's a fucking standing ovation as soon as he's done. I couldn't imagine seeing a Stone Cold promo cut live like that mid fucking right before his prime. After this, he's able to go on to WWE, then WWF, and he works the Ring Master gimmick, one of the worst gimmicks ever, until he decides that he wants to be Chili McFreeze. Or excuse me, he wants to base he wants to base a character off of Richard Kuklinski, the mafia hitman killer guy, and he says he watches a fucking thing on that, and he wants to become this new character. And slowly but surely he phases out Ringmaster and he becomes, Stone Cold Steve Austin, gets the goatee down, works the shorts, gets the little bit of chain going, but he definitely pulls it off. And just so you know, Steve, when he's interviewing and all the shit, the man can fucking talk. He's a fucking badass. But they cover, his feuds. They show the Blood from a Stone with Brett. They show some Savio Vega stuff. They show him on fire. They show the Austin 316 promo, which is just by fucking the grace of God that he, said that biblical promo on Jake the Snake with Michael Hayes is the one who gives him the heads up, which is absolutely crazy. Things skyrocket from there. We go over Owen, hurting Stone Cold's neck. We find out actually he's here. It's a bruised. Because I always think a broken neck too, because that's what the narrative was for so long. But it's actually a bruised spine. And he actually says to this day, for how tough things were and how fucking close he was to fucking ruining his neck, that things actually aren't too bad for him. He doesn't feel that bad in the morning. He's all things considered, I don't feel that bad. But we see from there the skyrocket that his takes off, that Tyson rub that they get back then from WrestleMania 14. It shows all the thing he does and how he's on fire. And every week we had to do bigger and better and better. And that Steve was running real fucking hard back then, And so as he's running really hard, things are just up crazier and crazier and crazier, Finally, he's on television, he's everywhere, he's past being a wrestler. He's still a wrestler, but the biggest wrestler in forever, right? And then we have, him. Let's job you out to Brock. And he says, he's old school where let's make some money off this. I have no problem doing business, but there's got to be some money behind it. So, as he takes his ball and goes home, they go over that. They go over Jim Ross bringing him back into the fold, him coming back, him just running real fucking hard, and that he's living off of coffee, wine, and energy drinks, just fucking chugging all three all day. And that, he knows it's time to do business, and he's going to put The Rock over on his way out. And they cover that they just had the two hottest rockets in the entire universe that team up together. I mean, I love Brett and Sean, but it's a bigger rivalry than Brett and Sean. You know what I mean? Like, that's how fucking epic these dudes were. I'm 30. I turned 34 in 3 weeks, and I was there for Attitude Era. To see them cover that Stone Cold shit against The Rock is crazy. But Austin goes out one more round. WrestleMania 19 does the job for Rock, and it's over. And they just covered his career, man. He said he knew he had to put the Rock, to do the favors, it's not even the favors, it's the honors at that level, laying up those lives. And he says, everything considered, it was a beautiful ride. He wouldn't change it for anything. If you've seen an Austin documentary, you've seen it. This one is just very good, but not too much new information for me, except for they did have one huge tidbit. He is very quiet about his family life, and they address how quiet he is about that. But they get into it here. I mean, they don't talk about his first marriage. They don't actually talk about his marriage, just to be honest with you, as I think about it. But they do go over that he has a very strained relationship with his daughter. That he was there when his daughter was born, held her, put a bottle, and he said that night, I was wrestling somewhere else. He's like, I made a lot of, decisions. Maybe they were mistakes, you know what I mean? But, I had to do what I had to do to push my career forward. And he's like, and, I haven't really had the greatest relationship with my daughter, even now, as she's fucking grown as fuck, and that she lives in England, and, he never talked about it, but he's like, I'm still trying to repair it. And he's like, I wasn't the greatest dad. I never won Dad of the Year, he's like, but I'm trying to make up for it now. And, and he admits it's his fuck up. So, a crazy side to see that from Steve. It's a really good documentary. It's really worth the 2 hours, as I talk your ear off here for 7.5 minutes. But I thought it was really good, man. If you're not a wrestling fan, you should check it out. If you are a wrestling fan, it covers quite a lot of the gambit. Not as in detail, minute about every wrestling aspect like some of the other documentaries are about him. But still very, 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 very well from A&E. Super stoked to see next week's episode with Roddy Piper. But let me know what you guys thought about it, man, as I ramble on here. What did you think about the episode? Maybe a little bit more on the domestic violence side, but maybe we can have... I thought it was really good. On a scale of 1 to 10 for wrestling documentaries, 8.5. Very good. Very good. Very, 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 very good. But I could go on all day about it. Let me know what you guys think. We'll talk about it in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you like what you're watching, then hop in the coffin. Follow us on social media at Coffin Radio. Coffin is spelled with a K. And that's all for today.
ASMR Coffin Radio.